What's up, guys? So here we go with UFC 228. That I personally think it's a pretty badass card. I think it's better than 227. Definitely not as good as 226, and I would even say it's better than 225. I mean, just for my personal taste. I've seen a lot of people talk shit about this event and say that it has shitty fights and all this and that, but again, I'm always disagreeing with the majority of people. See, Woodley versus Till is a badass fight. Finally, I get to talk about Magomedsharipov, which I'm still bummed out that it's not Yair Rodriguez. But if you see this guy fight, man, you'll have fun watching this guy perform. This will be a badass fight too. This guy in price. So yeah, see, my rule for a pay-per-view is if it has 3 fights that I'm really interested in, it's worth it. And this one has it. Woodley Till, Magomedsharipov versus Davis, and Alhassan Price. But forget about that. Look at even the prelims. Rivera Dodson should be good. Sanchez White will be good too. Miller White will also be good. So yeah, really good fights. I mean, I'm gonna be watching the entire event. From the Fight Pass to the main card, and I'm really excited about this one. On this one, guys, I'm gonna talk about 7 fights, kind of to break away from my classic. Well, not classic, but from the ones I've been doing recently, which is just 5 fights. On this one, I'm gonna cover the entire main card, and then I'm also gonna do Rivera Dodson and Diego Sanchez and I think it's Craig White. Is it? Yeah, Craig White. And I'm going to start with, that's actually the fight that I'm going to start with, Sanchez versus White. And I'm going to start with Diego Sanchez, who, everybody knows who Diego Sanchez is. I don't think this guy has been in a boring fight ever in his career. Diego Sanchez is a legend, a future Hall of Famer for sure. He's a fighter that I think, had he dedicated 100% his life to MMA, he could have been champion. I think he could have beat and be one of the best lightweights ever, but just based on some of his performances, especially after his fight with BJ Penn for that title, it seemed like he was doing a little bit too much partying, a little bit too much eating, not the right food, not the right kinds of food. And kind of really, that fight with BJ Penn was the last time. I think after that he kind of started to slowly die down as far as potential for being a champion. He definitely did amazing fights. This guy has been in one of the greatest, not just one of the greatest fights in the lightweight division or anything, but one of the greatest fights ever in MMA history. His fight with the Clay Guida back in 2009 was just an amazing fight. It's one of those fights that you should, when you show it to people that don't really watch MMA, they like it. His fight with Gilbert Melendez was also one of the greatest ever. The one with Paulo Thiago and Jake Ellenberger were also pretty amazing fights. I think both of them won Fight of the Nights, and the one with Guida, the one with Melendez, Fight of the Year. It's nice about Sanchez, but that is long gone. Coming into this fight, Diego Sanchez has lost 6 of his last 10 fights, and he's got finished on his last 2 versus Matt Brown and Al Iaquinta. So let's talk about his last fight, the one with Matt Brown. From the get-go on that fight, you could tell 100% that the game plan was to take Matt Brown down. Diego Sanchez from the get-go was desperately trying to get Matt Brown to the ground. There's no way that he wanted to stand up and trade with Brown, especially because he looked a lot bigger. Matt Brown looked a lot bigger, and it's something that Craig White is also going to have over him. Because from the get-go, Diego, charges towards Brown. As soon as the fight starts, lands a nice punch and goes for the single. And Sanchez was being very technical in this fight. It seems, he definitely, this one and the one with Iaquinta, you could tell Diego has not just brawling like like a drunk person at a bar, because his chin can no longer take it, and this just is not a smart way to do it. That fight that only lasted, I think, about 3 minutes, almost 4 minutes. I had Diego winning those 3 minutes and 44 seconds that it lasted. He was being very technical, pushing Matt Brown. He actually landed a liver kick that dropped Matt Brown. But, that is something that Matt Brown gets really hurt with, liver kicks. And I was like, oh shit, Diego's winning this fight. But then, basically the way he got finished was he threw a kick that Matt Brown caught, and and then Matt Brown threw an elbow that just destroyed Diego Sanchez. I mean, if you haven't seen it, I recommend watching it. It was like super telegraphed. I mean, he put all his body into it. Landed on Diego's, I think around his temple, and dropped, and Diego was done. I felt bad for the guy, but yeah, definitely he showed wrestling, kicking, very more technical striker than some of his last fights. And like I said, he was winning, but Matt Brown looked like he was like a weight class bigger than Sanchez. I think Sanchez is a true lightweight, but maybe he just doesn't want to cut the weight anymore. But yeah, I mean, he was very, very technical and gets dropped with literally one elbow. And the one before that with Iaquinta, the one with Iaquinta was also very similar to the one with Brown. Very patient, very technical striking. Diego, he was throwing, his punches down the center line, keeping his chin very tucked, hands up. Definitely, it seems that he has abandoned that crazy brawler, and is taking a better approach into fighting. And he, the fight with Iaquinta was even shorter than the one with Matt Brown. It was a minute and like 38 seconds, and very technical up until that point. But then Iaquinta landed a right hook, immediately followed by a straight right that just finished Diego Sanchez. And so he kind of like I was talking about Ellenberger in the past, and other guys like Overeem. There was another guy I was talking about having a broken chin. Diego's another one of those guys. He has been knocked out way too many times, and even the times that he has not been knocked out, he has been in some brutal fights where he has eaten a lot of shots, like the one with Gilbert Melendez. And so yeah, coming into this fight, and he's not a youngster anymore. He's 36, turns 37 this year. So you could, I've talked about this before. You have listened to my previous breakdowns of fights. You could make the argument that Diego could be even slower and just less cardio than last fight. So you gotta wonder. Now he's taking on Craig White, who is coming, who his last fight was his UFC debut, which was on less than 2 weeks notice versus Neil Magny. I mean, I don't care who you are, taking a fight on short notice versus Neil Magny on its own, it's a not something easy to do. But look at all the circumstances for that fight. So less than 2 weeks notice versus Neil Magny, who is a legit top 10 at welterweight, and making your UFC debut, like on top of that, I don't care who you are, it takes, you gotta be prepared for that one. And Craig White had nothing to lose on that fight, so you kind of wonder, it was one of those fights that he was expected to lose, and losing was not going to do anything. It was not really going to hurt him at all. Now this one, if he loses to Sanchez, that really sends him down the rankings. And if he wants to, he has to destroy Diego Sanchez if he wants to make a statement, because I think he was a champion in the previous organization. And here's the thing, though, despite all the circumstances versus Neil Magny, I thought he was doing pretty good, considering the late notice UFC debut. And Neil Magny, from the get-go, he shows that he likes to throw kicks, very nice kicks too. When he clinched with Neil Magny, he showed that he had a lot of upper body strength. Even if on this fight with Diego, even if Diego wants to take him down, I believe he's gonna have to shoot on a double or a single and time it well. If it's from the clinch, there's no way Diego is taking him down. This is another thing that Sanchez is gonna run into this fight. Craig White is a lot bigger than him. 4 inches taller, 4 inches reach, and he looks a lot stronger and a lot bigger too. So in that fight with the Neil Magny, that was ended, I believe, round 1. Like I said, I thought he was doing pretty well considering all the circumstances. He was defending takedowns, he showed strength, and it was a moment where his head was just too close to the too close to the ground, put it that way, and Neil Magny just landed a knee that basically ended the fight. But it was the knee and then a lot of follow-up punches. I don't know if it was a moment of distraction from Craig White, or maybe he just didn't gauge the distance very well, but he literally left his face open for that knee, and Neil Magny capitalized. He made the best of it and finished him. So on this one, I'm gonna go with Craig White. I'm gonna go with Craig White by. I think he finishes Diego Sanchez. I think he's too big, too strong. Definitely does not want to lose to Sanchez, and having a full camp instead of 2 weeks, I think it's going to be too much for Sanchez. So I'm going to go with Craig by KO TKO round 1 or 2. So then after that fight, the other one that I'm covering is Rivera versus Dodson, which should be a great fight. If you have seen both of these guys fight in the past, they're both Jimmy Rivera, it's always some good fights, and so is Dodson. So, Dodson seems to have lost some steam compared to a few years ago, but he's still in great fights. And I'm gonna start with Jimmy Rivera. So Jimmy Rivera is coming into this fight after getting completely destroyed by Marlon Moraes in 33 seconds by a head kick on his last fight. This brings back. That event, Rivera versus Moraes, was my first ever YouTube video, a few months ago, and it was a great video. As far as the predictions, I hit I think it was 6 out of 7, and I actually predicted Marlon Moraes to win by KO TKO round 1 or round 2. That's how I win. So I was really happy that being my first video, and it's there if you want to see it. But back to this fight. So 33 seconds, got destroyed with the head kick. So, it was so short that not too much happened. Basically, Moraes threw an inside leg kick on Rivera, and then just a few seconds later, follow up with the same left, but this time he went for the head, landed clean on Rivera, just finished him with some ground and pound. So not too much to take from that fight as far as Rivera's ability. But so Rivera is a really good striker, very technical, with and throws a lot of kicks too. This guy likes kicking. He likes kicking and keeps it very technical, very by the book. He doesn't really throw too many unorthodox shots. He has a lot of pressure in his style. He's coming forward a ton, but doesn't pack too much power in his punches. See, out of those 21 wins, 15 of them are by decision. So, he's not a boring fighter. But definitely he's not a knockout artist, or he's not a finisher by any means. See, in the fight with his second to last fight with what's the Brazilian guy? God damn it, I can't remember his name. Oh, Almeida. I think it's Thomas Almeida. See, he landed a lot of clean shots on Almeida and was not able to finish him. And this is the Almeida. If you know who this guy is, this guy has been finished very easy. So that just shows you Rivera doesn't really pack a lot of power in his punches. His cardio. He's also not a cardio machine, and I pointed that on my last fight when I made a prediction for him and Moraes, he's a guy that every passing minute he is a percentage slower. As a matter of fact, in his fight with Almeida, I mean, I could argue that that second round was probably won by Almeida just because of the fact that you could tell Rivera has started to slow down. When he gets pressured, he backs up. Doesn't really throw too many counters. However, that's not. I don't. Based on the last few fights of Dodson, I don't think that's going to be a problem because Dodson doesn't really come forward a lot. You know, he kind of waits for you for counters. So, really good striker, very technical hands, a lot of kicks, an amazing record. You know, it's 21-2, and you know, his last fight was his second loss. But overall, disciplined, technical, a lot of kicks. You know, overall, very good striker, just not too much power, a lot of pressure, and you know, he doesn't have a bad cardio, but he's also not like someone that can go. He's no Demetrius Johnson or Kane, you know, or one of those guys. So, and he's ranked number 5, and he's taking on John Dodson, who's coming from beating Pedro Munoz in a fight that was a split decision. John Dodson, it's no longer that super explosive fights that, you know, at one point I thought he was going to give Demetrius Johnson. I think on the first fight, I thought that Johnson had a big possibility of beating Demetrius just because of his speed and his explosiveness. I'm not saying he's low, but you can tell that he's nowhere near what he was a few years ago. But with that being said, I think he's a smidge faster than Jimmy Rivera, for sure. While I definitely give the pressure and the volume to Rivera, I think the one-shot knockout power and the speed goes to Dodson. So in a way, it's kind of opposite to Rivera. You know, a lot of pressure, a lot of coming forward, but not too much power in his hands. Versus power in his hands, very fast hands, but he doesn't really go forward. Like on his fight with his last fight with Munoz. Munoz was the one coming forward, you know, on his face the entire fight, and Dodson was, you know, looking to counter. So that could very well play on this fight. Rivera being the one coming forward, and you know, at the end of the fight with Munoz, I didn't really know who had won. It was very close, so Dodson could have easily lost that fight. So because of the styles and also the fact that John Dodson, he's also one of those guys that he's not going to be faster than his last fight. He's not going to be stronger than his last fight. You know, he's about to turn 34 versus the 29-year-old. You could argue Jimmy Rivera could be just getting into his prime, while Johnson is towards the end of his prime. You know, he's about, like I said, about to be 34. So, you know, and he also, as far as cardio and all, Dodson also, every passing minute, you can tell that he starts to slow down a little bit, little by little. But just based on the styles of pressure, non-stop pressure, and the size advantage that Rivera goes, I'm gonna go with Rivera on this one by decision. I think he keeps the pressure on and avoids the big shots from Dodson and pulls a decision. 100% takes undefended. So, you know, it's not impossible for Johnson to catch him clean and knock him out because he has power, but he hasn't really shown that a lot lately. So, Jimmy Rivera by decision. So now let's get into the main card, and I'm going to start with Alhassan versus Nico Price, which is a fucking treat if you love somebody getting knocked out or somebody getting hurt. And I'm gonna start with Nico Price on this one. So Nico Price is coming to this fight from beating what was the name of that? I don't know, the last name was Brown. Let's see real quick. Randy Brown, in a fight that ended in a very interesting way. But Nico Price trains at American Top Team, which is a great camp. So he's definitely well prepared. That play has a lot of training partners and a lot of great coaches. He has really good pressure, and when he clinches, man, he will not stop until he takes you down. A lot of pressure when with his grappling. I would say, which is one of his best assets. And combined with that, it's his really nice submissions too. So that's always a deadly combination: good grappling, good takedowns, a lot of pressure, and submissions to back that up. The guy is also a finisher. Out of those 12 wins, he has finished 11 of them by KO, TKO, or submission. On his fight with Sullivan, he showed that if he gets into trouble, he will not hesitate to use his grappling and take you down. So on that fight with Sullivan landed a nice punch that hurt him, and then Nico Price used his grappling, took him down, and basically won the round. After getting hurt. So that is that's a veteran move. That is used by a lot of people with a lot of experience. Also in the fight with Sullivan, he showed that he's good from his back. See, on that fight, which was his second to last fight, he got taken down. It was like, okay, whatever. He got up, then he took Sullivan down and submitted him and won the fight. So definitely a very well-rounded guy that can beat you, standing up or if he goes to the ground. In his last fight with Randy Brown, he mixes punches and kicks very well and throws a lot of combinations. They're not too long. It's not like a 4 or 5 shot combination. Usually like a 2 and 3. Especially like I would say 3 is his number, but they're very nice. Very fluid for sure. So on his last fight versus Randy Brown, I don't know if you have watched it. I have never seen a fight end this way. So basically, I gave him the first round to Nico Price. I think he controlled the stand-up, overall, the grappling. Maybe like the last 5 seconds of that round, Randy Brown landed a knee that you could consider rocked Nico Price. And coming into that second round, it seemed like Brown was starting to take over, and then they ended up in a position where Randy Brown was on top, Nico Price was on the bottom, of course, and Randy Brown was kind of like against the cage. He was against the cage, but in a way where his face was exposed, and Nico Price could reach. Nico Price knocked Randy Brown out cold with hammer fists from the bottom. I have never seen that in my life. And if you have, please leave a comment when you have seen that before. People throw hammer fists all the time, but it's usually from the top, or somebody has your leg and you're trying to punch like the side of their face or something. But it is rare to see somebody throw hammer fists from the bottom. But the fact that he knocked him out with hammer fists from the bottom was just insane. On that fight, I remember I had Brown. I thought Brown was going to win that fight, but no. Yeah, I was surprised. Again, never seen it in my life. So definitely a lot of power that Nico Price has. So coming into this fight, he's taken on this monster. When people talk, if people throw the word knockout artist out there, if I have to pick the perfect example, you're looking at it right here. This guy, maybe Kutelaba, it's another guy that the word knockout artist just fits perfect. So check this out, right? If you want to talk about knockout artist, this guy is 9-1-0. He's undefeated. He has a draw. Okay, so all those 9 victories, every single one of them is by KO, TKO. But you want more? Okay, all of them are round 1 by KO, TKO. And if you even want more than that, out of those 9 fights, 5 of them are in under 1 minute. Yeah, you want knockout artist? There you go. 9 knockouts, all of them round 1, 5 of them under a minute. If this guy connects on his chin, he will get put away, no questions asked. There you go, KO TKO 100%. So this guy's coming from, his last 2 fights are versus Hamasi, I think is the last name of the guy. Yeah, it was against Saba Hamasi. They fought back to back. On the first fight, what happened was Herb Dean kind of screwed up on that one. Basically, they were against the cage. Alhassan was just throwing punches, and it seemed like Hamasi got dropped. And I guess from the angle that Herb Dean was, he thought the same. But then if you look at the slow motion, Hamasi dropped for a double. It was not a punch that dropped him. So Herb Dean stopped the fight, even though Hamasi wasn't hurt. So it did a minute rematch, and they fought like a month later. This guy showed the pressure. The pressure that he has is superior to Nico Price's. This guy's built like a tank, because on that second fight, Hamasi threw an elbow and landed a lot of powerful shots on him that didn't even rock him or anything, and they were strong shots too. He throws brutal knees from the clinch, nice leg kicks, has a really nice takedown defense that it was shown versus Hamasi. And like I said, his right hand is just brutal. I mean, if you have seen his last fight versus Hamasi, it was one uppercut that he threw, knocked him out cold. Again, a tank. That's what this guy is. And basically, this fight to me is gonna go the way all his fights have gone. KO TKO, round 1, he puts Price away. I don't think Nico Price's ability to take him down will work. If he's done his homework, he will be well prepared for that. He definitely has reach on him, but I don't think it will matter. The speed, the pressure of Alhassan, I think it's going to be too much. So my prediction for this one is Alhassan KO TKO round 1. That puts him at 10-1. And I hope after this one he gets I don't know if Nico Price is ranked right now. He might be. I can look it up real quick. I don't think he's a top 10, but if Alhassan does that and finishes him the same way he's done everyone else, I say give him a top 10 next fight. And go from there. After the event, I'll definitely do my my review and also my video of what fights I would make afterwards. So then we got Andrade versus Kowalkiewicz. And I've talked about women's MMA before, where how unpredictable they are, and that's why normally I stay away from them, except when there's a few exceptions. And that's why I'm covering that Shevchenko, because I've mentioned how brutal she is, and then Jessica Andrade, to the just the performances that she has shown lately, make me believe that she's it won't be too unpredictable as far as what's going to happen on this fight. So this one's going to be quick, guys, and because I'm confident on my prediction, and I will definitely include it towards my grading. It will be part of I'll basically have 7 fights that I'm covering, and they will. If you've seen my videos, you know how I grade myself based on the ones that I predict, and this one is included. On this one, I have Jessica Andrade by submission, round 2. Basically, what I think is going to happen is her takedowns and ground and pound are brutal. Basically, if she takes you down and you don't have a way of getting up, or you're not good off your back, you're gonna eat a lot of elbows, a lot of shots. And I don't think Kowalkiewicz has that. I think her strength is definitely the striking, and she could land punches for sure. On Andrade's last fight versus Torres was landing over and over and over, but Andrade was just eating them like nothing. Like, it had no effect on her. And I think that's how it's gonna be on this one. She's gonna come forward and do the same thing she did versus Torres, just non-stop, constant pressure. And Carolina starts to fade away. Then she's gonna take her down, rough her up a little bit with ground and pound, and then finish her with the submission. I would say round, like I said, round 2. I think she wears her out round 1, continues doing it round 2, then takes her out and finishes by submission. But I got Andrade on this one, submission, round 2. And then we have this one right here, which, finally, like I said, you're in for a treat watching this guy fight. This was supposed to be Sabit versus Yair Rodriguez, and god damn it, just 2 weeks ago Yair got hurt, and then Brandon Davis has decided to step in on less than 2 weeks notice as a sacrificial lamb. That kind of tells you what my prediction for this one is gonna be. So I'm gonna start with Sabit on this one. So yeah, was supposed to fight Yair Rodriguez. If you know a little story in that one, they were scheduled to fight, but Yair Rodriguez did not want to, and everybody knows why he did not want to. Nobody's calling this guy out. So the UFC was like, you know what, you're a pussy, you're fired. They cut Yair. If you want to look into the story, then I guess they talked to the UFC. They were like, they convinced him to get him back. They finally, so Yair Rodriguez agreed to fight Magomedsharipov, and less than 2 weeks away, he gets cut. Personally, I wanted to see. I'm bummed out because it was going to be a great fight, but I still wanted Sabit to fight someone higher ranked. I would have loved if like Chad Mendes would have stepped in. But if you're smart, you don't take on this guy on less than 2 weeks' notice. But at the same time, I guarantee you the UFC talked to Davis and they were like, look, man, if you lose, don't sweat it. It's not gonna matter. Got nothing to lose. Win. It's actually opposite ends. If he wins, that's awesome. If he loses, it's whatever. So Sabit is a special kind of fighter. This guy can do everything. He can strike. Very, very technical. Like textbook, straight with the kicks. But not only that, if he wants to, he throws unorthodox and perfect unorthodox. There's a difference between throwing wild kicks and they look kind of like, they throw you off balance. And then there's this guy where he throws it and he is stable and confident when he does it. He has had 3 fights in the UFC, and in those 3 fights, I have become a huge fan of this guy. All of them have won an award. His last one versus Bogniak. If you ever want to introduce somebody to MMA, have them watch Sabit versus I think it was Carl Bogniak. What an amazing fight! It won Fight of the Night. I think Joe Rogan was almost crying as to how amazing that fight was. So yeah, it won Fight of the Night, and then his previous 2 fights won in Performance of the Night. I mean, I cannot stress how damn good this guy is. Mixes punches, kicks, elbows, knees. He mixes that with his unorthodox spinning back kicks. On his last fight versus Carl Bogniak, he threw this kick that I guess it has a background in capoeira, but basically it's almost like he puts a hand on the floor and then just throws a head kick. I think Anthony Pettis has done it, but the way he did it was super fast, super technical, which is crazy. It's a technical unorthodox, and he was just an inch from landing that kick on Bogniak. On not his last fight, but his previous 2 fights, he has attempted to throw the Showtime kick that Anthony Pettis did. The one where he runs against the cage to throw the kick. He does it like nothing. Like if he sees the opportunity, he will do it. No questions asked. So don't be surprised, if one day this guy has a highlight from what's called a Showtime kick. On top of having that capoeira Anthony Pettis Showtime kick, he throws that what is called jumping switch kick that Machida has used in the past, where he jumps, throws the left kick, and followed by the right kick. immediately, I would say he throws it faster than Machida, and when he lands, he stays balanced. It's not like he he has to compose himself. No, just the fluidity for this guy is just amazing. But the crazy thing is that it's not just that. See, out of those 15, 6 are by KO TKO, and 6 of them are by submission, 3 of them by decision. So that is the thing about this guy. If you get him into trouble in the stand-up, he will take you down and submit you. Assuming his striking, assuming you have a better striking than him. And 2 of those submissions are basically his first 2 fights in the UFC are won by submission, both of them. His last fight was the fight of the night that went to decision versus Bogniak. He should also show the ability to kind of like Khabib does. If he can knock you out, he can submit you, he can control you and just beat you up and basically fit you if he wants to. In his last fight versus Bogniak, he threw Bogniak to the floor, also in a way that I've never seen before. So that's 2 things that I've never seen in an MMA fight. First was the capoeira type kick, and then the way how he took Bogniak down. It was weird. Like, he grabbed him behind the neck and then just kicked his outside leg down and just slammed it on the floor. Like I said, if you can look for highlights for Sabit versus Bogniak, I really recommend doing that. You will see what I'm talking about. But with that being said, he's definitely not a perfect fighter. He definitely has a few holes. One of them is I haven't, even though he landed so many punches on Bogniak, I didn't see Bogniak hurt. So definitely doesn't have one punch knockout power. And towards the end of that 3rd round, you could tell that he was tired because he was looking at the clock, and Bogniak started to landing shots. So definitely he's human. Definitely not perfect fighter. He lacks power. He lacks true one punch knockout power. And if his cardio, but it's hard to say, because he was throwing everything but the kitchen sink on Bogniak. So hard to say, I feel like anyone would get tired with that. But definitely the power. He's not a knockout artist. He's more of a volume striker that. Just the non-stop pressure and how technical he is, adds up. But he's not like Chad Mendes, for example, that will put you away with one shot. So he's taking, like I said, Brandon Davis on less than 2 weeks' notice, stepping up to die, basically. Guys, there's nothing, there's no point for me on adding minutes and to breaking down the stuff that Brandon Davis does, because it's pointless. There is absolutely nothing he does that is better than Sabit. He's a very technical striker, but not too fast, and that's it. Nothing he does is better than Sabit. And combine that with less than 2 weeks notice, and he's smaller than Sabit on everything, on height, reach, leg reach. This is going to be a complete total domination by Sabit. I say submission, round 1 or 2. It's hard to tell the round. It's all going to be a matter of how long can Brandon Davis last. But that's my prediction for that one. Sabit by submission. Round 1 or round 2. It's hard to specifically pick a round for this one. So then we move to Valentina Shevchenko versus Nico Montano. So Valentina Shevchenko made her flyweight debut on her last fight versus something Cachoeira or something like that. It was a fight that was very controversial. It was controversial because on that fight she absolutely 100% destroyed Cachoeira. It was it was her debut, and there was a lot of the level of beating that she put on that girl was just too brutal. And you got two sides for this. I think that's the fight that got Mario Yamasaki fired, because I haven't seen him in the UFC since that fight. And Dana White said, "You will not see Yamasaki again in the refereeing for one of my fighters." So I don't know what's up with that, but so yeah, I agree. The fight should have been stopped way earlier than when it was. But who do you truly 100% blame? Yeah, definitely Yamasaki. He should have stopped that fight. But at the same time, if your fighter is taking a beating and the referee is not stopping it, that's why you have your corner that can throw the towel. So yeah, interesting. Definitely. I put. Definitely Yamasaki was being useless there, but I also question, hey, where was your corner for Cachoeira? If I see that my friend or teammate is getting destroyed, I throw the towel. I think when Nate Diaz was fighting Josh Thompson, I think Nick threw the towel, probably right at the same time the fight was stopped. But I don't know, interesting. But see, Shevchenko was actually very decent, even at the higher weight class that she came from. She was a legit bantamweight that beat Holly Holm and lost twice to Amanda Nunes, the current champion in the weight class above. And his last fight was very, very controversial. See, at the end of the fight, it could have easily gone to Valentina, and she could easily be the bantamweight champion right now. And on their first fight about 2-3 years ago, Nunes won, but it wasn't by any means a domination. And if you know how good Amanda Nunes is, that's something to that says just how good Valentina is, and she has carried that that success and that that skill into this division. It didn't seem like she was drained out of from cutting the weight. And guys, another one that there's no reason for me to even break down what Nico Montano can do. There is no way. I mean, let me see if the odds are on this one. Look at that. Last time I was talking about I have never seen something. I couldn't remember seeing something as big as Eric Anders, which was like minus 1,000. Look at this shit, minus 1,400. Again, for those of you that don't know, basically, if you would have to put $1,400 on Shevchenko to win $100. That's how ridiculous the odds are, and I agree with them. Opposite end, if you put 100 on Montano, you get paid 850. So basically, that's how the odd makers are seeing this. That's the value of this, and I agree with it. This is gonna be probably it's gonna go just as bad as the Cachoeira one. Valentina, new champion, KO TKO, again round 1 or round 2. And I'll look at the one for Magomedsharipov, minus 600. Another pretty obvious one too. The one with Alhassan and Price are not too crazy. The one with Rivera, Dodson, that one either. But yeah, new champion Valentina Shevchenko. It's gonna be hard for someone in that division to beat her, based on the performances that she has shown. So Valentina, KO round 1, round 2, and then we go to the main event, which I think it's gonna be amazing, between Tyron Woodley and Darren Till. And I'm gonna start with Darren Till. So Darren Till is an amazing striker with an undefeated record, and a lot of size and a lot of power for that division. And it's something that I found very interesting. Again, I'm always reading the comments of fans on MMA Junkie or the UFC websites. Darren Till gets a lot of hate because they'd say that he shouldn't be a welterweight, that he should be even a light heavyweight, some people say. But for some reason, I don't see that same hate towards Stephen Thompson, who is actually slightly bigger than Till. It's almost like fans pick and choose who to hate for whatever reason. And maybe, it's the fact that he has missed weight a few times, which he has, including his last fight versus Thompson, and his personality, or people think that his fight versus Thompson was that it was a robbery. Again, the word robbery being thrown on that fight. I didn't think it was a robbery. I actually thought Darren Till won that fight based on aggression and octagon control. But again, if you're gonna hate on Till for his size, then you should also hate Stephen Thompson. If I had to pick Darren Till's overall, what makes him so good is his constant pressure, his non-stop pressure, shown versus the fight versus Thompson and Cerrone, combined with his ridiculous size, his amazing striker, but specifically that left hand. Guys, that left hand of Darren Till, I would say, is even faster than Conor's. Some people might say, "Oh, what the fuck are you talking about?" No, I cannot stress just how fast he uncorks that left hand. And as far as power, well, that's not even a matter for debate. This guy hits a lot harder than Conor. But you would think as a featherweight, Conor would be, you would say, oh no, the left hand of Conor is faster. But no, the left hand of Darren Till, I just cannot stress how deadly that thing is. And if you want to see a proof of it, watch his second to last fight versus Cerrone. Just how easily, how calm, just how perfect he lands that left hand. And the thing is that he doesn't only land it as a straight left. He lands it as a straight left, as an overhand left, or as an uppercut with that same hand. All three ways come extremely fast. And in that fight with Cerrone, it was that left hand that finished Cerrone. I mean, he was just landing that at will. Cerrone had no answer for it. And Cerrone is a really good striker. It didn't matter. Till destroyed him in that fight. So that constant pressure of it. So, let's talk about his last fight versus Thompson. So that event was supposed to be my first YouTube video ever. But being the first time new channel, I had a few problems and I couldn't upload the video. Actually, I uploaded it, but I had to delete it because it had a few problems in it. And if you watch my first video, you can see that I talk about it. Personally, I had Darren Till win in that fight. And, some of the things that I read for that particular fight was that people were saying, oh, Darren Till with his constant pressure, hands down, chin up, that's like perfect for Thompson, because Thompson's going to counter and, finish him. My breakdown, I had that, what I was talking about, having a team and a coach and, having people that studies a film. And I was like, there is no way, if these people are doing their homework, that Darren Till is going to approach Stephen Thompson the same way that he approached Cerrone, hands down, chin up, constant pressure, because he'll get knocked the fuck out. And that's exactly how it went. On that fight, he had his pressure, but you could tell that he was ready for Thompson's counters, and had his hands up the entire fight. While I think that maybe Thompson landed more volume of shots, part of the scoring system is the aggression and the on-to-guard control, and that was 100% on Darren Till's side. For the majority of that fight, Thompson was just running away in circles and side to side. So yeah, that's Darren Till right there, and he's taking on Tyron Woodley, who is also a very hated champion. For some reason, people just hate Tyron Woodley so much. They say he's boring, and I kind of agree. His last two fights haven't been that amazing. But you can partially blame it on the other fighters too, especially Maya, and for that fight being boring. So Tyron Woodley is he's at the classic powerful wrestler with this really powerful overhand right, which seems to be like a classic move from for wrestlers. Again, I'll bring the name Chad Mendes. He's very good at that overhand right. Short, built wrestler with a powerful overhand right, and Speaking of it, that's exactly how Tyron Woodley won the title. His hand, for being built the way he is, he's very fast too. And if you saw his fight with Lawler when he won the title, that's exactly what it was. It was an overhand right that only took one shot and it dropped Robbie Lawler. When somebody has the ability, it's always something to consider when you're making predictions. When somebody has the ability to knock you out with one punch, like Tyron Woodley, that is always something to consider when you're breaking down a fight. Darren Till is the much superior striker, the much faster striker, and we haven't really seen him get rocked or lose, so we don't know what kind of chin he has. But it would take a very special kind of chin to eat a clean shot from Woodley. If he lands flush on your face with that right hand, chances are you're going down. What Tyron Woodley has shown in his last 3 fights, the one with Maya and the 2-4 with Dodson, is that he doesn't mind waiting and being very patient and non-aggressive, just as long as he can win the fight. But with that being said, I was extremely surprised that he was not able to to finish Maya, especially because you could tell Maya was desperately 100% wanting to take the fight to the ground. I mean, he knew that there was no way that he could just trade punches with Tyron. That was his game plan: take him down, submit him. But he couldn't do it, and Tyron Woodley stopped his takedowns extremely easily. So on that fight, I was like, yeah, he's gonna definitely knock him out. But he didn't. He landed a few nice punches, but so did Maya. So Maya landed his shots too, which tells me that Darren Till can also land his punches on Woodley. If you remember his fight several years ago with Rory McDonald, Rory McDonald showed what happened when a better striker is able to easily stop the takedowns and not give Tyron Woodley time to work. And that's how I think this fight's gonna go. Basically, here's my prediction for this one. I have Darren Till winning by KO TKO round 2. I think Darren Till's gonna do his homework just the same way he did for Stephen Thompson. He knows. We all know that it is not in Tyron Woodley's best interest to go out there and strike with Darren Till. But always having in mind that he has that one punch shot ability to finish you. But if but the strategy would be for him to use his wrestling, take him down and keep him down there, or use some ground and pound. So he's definitely 100% gonna be prepared for that. There's no way he wouldn't. So my prediction for this one is that this fight's gonna go kind of like the one with Rory McDonald. I think Darren Till, I think his takedown defense is gonna be sharp, and on the stand-up, I think he's gonna find openings and land shots on Woodley and finish him. Also the age, forgot to mention that. 25 years old, 36 years old. Again, I've talked about this many times. Another fighter that you could argue he could be a little bit slower than last fight, a little bit just slower on everything. Cardio, chin, power, whatever. 36. He's already past that. On the twilight of his towards the end of his career. So. Versus 25 and so much bigger. So I'm gonna go with Till, KO, TKO, round 2, and Neal. And it's gonna be hard to beat this guy. I can see Stephen Thompson doing it on the rematch, because definitely there was no domination by Till by any means. But I don't see Kobe doing it. I don't see Dos Anjos doing it. So it's going to be interesting. So again, guys, let me show you my my topology for this one real quick. So I have so you can compare it to for the video. I have and this is also the summary for my predictions. So this will be my topology that I'm showing you, plus summary of the predictions. So I have Till KO TKO round 2. I have Shevchenko KO TKO round 2. I have Magomedsharipov submission round 2. I have Andrade submission round 2. I have Alhassan KO TKO round 1. I have Rivera by decision, and I have White KO TKO round 1. Another one that I'll show that I already did my work on. I have Alex White by KO TKO round 1 too. But like I said, I'm not covering this one, so then they don't go towards my 7 predictions. Win or lose, they don't go towards my scoring. I have a Suarez submission round 1. So again, guys, final summary. Darren Till KO TKO round 2, new champion. Shevchenko KO TKO round 2, new champion. Sabit submission, what did I say, round 1, round 2? Andrade submission round 1, round 2. Alhassan KO TKO round 1. Rivera by decision. And Craig White KO TKO round 1. Alright guys, so that's it. 7 fights, and let's see how we do. Of course, I will do my follow-up video after the event and see how we did. Alright, have a good day.